So we're going to talk about ColdFusion 10 and WebSocket 5 today, just to clarify in case anybody was wondering. My name is Elishia Dvorak. You can pretend that I'm Rupesh. He couldn't make it today, so I'm just going to fill in for him. I'm a solution consultant and product evangelist for ColdFusion. That's my role here at Adobe. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about WebSockets in a nutshell. I want to just give you an idea of what WebSockets are, if you're not familiar yet. And then we'll get into ColdFusion's implementation of WebSocket and how easy it is to build that functionality within your web applications. And then we'll get into some basics, and I'll show you in 4 easy steps how you can implement WebSocket in your applications using ColdFusion's technology. Basically 3 steps if you just want to receive messages, and then the 4th will be sending messages from your server. And then we'll get into a little bit more intermediate type advanced topic on some of the other additional features that you can do with WebSockets after that. And then I'll show you some demos in the end. So what are WebSockets? Basically, WebSocket is the name of a protocol that was introduced with HTML5. It gives you bidirectional, full duplex communication between a TCP, an established TCP connection. This connection is permanent, so it's a little bit different from the HTTP protocol in that way. It's designed specifically for rich internet applications, and it works, basically it's supported on both desktop, mobile browsers, as well as tablet browsers as well. So what's the difference between WebSocket and HTTP protocol? Well, when you look at this diagram, HTTP protocol will allow you to have a unidirectional communication with the server. So basically, the server cannot publish back to the client without receiving some type of request from the client browser. The WebSocket protocol, you'll see that it's bidirectional, so you have that real-time data communication between the client and the server over an established permanent TCP connection. So this gives you the ability to have real-time data streaming back and forth between client and server. So let's talk about performance. Like I said, HTTP is based on the response request, and the server will not be able to push any messages back to the client without any type of request coming from the client first. So from a performance standpoint, you'll see that the WebSocket is actually a lot better performing. You'll get a lot higher lower network latency and higher performance based on things like the header size, and of course, because you have a permanent TCP connection, you get that bidirectional data flow in real time. That makes for a highly scalable environment. This will show you the difference between like a general HTTP request header. If you see the difference, it's pretty large compared to a standard WebSocket request. The WebSocket request has 1 byte to start and 1 byte to end with the message body in the middle. But with HTTP requests, you have all of the header information. And this is like a standard one or an average one that would include just a little bit of session data included in it. If you think about how much session data you pass back and forth on a larger application or depending on your application requirements, you can see how this could add up pretty quickly. If you have, let's say, 80,000 requests coming in and you've got all this header data on the top. So what are some of the common uses for WebSocket applications? Twitter feed, news feeds, stock generation, the online gaming and gambling type applications, or a dashboard would be a good implementation of this. So which browsers do support WebSockets? Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Opera, they all have native browser support. IE does not in its current edition, which is version 9, but I believe 10 is definitely going to include some WebSocket native browser support within IE for WebSocket. Now for the tablet and the mobile environments, iOS does have native support in the default browser, so you can use WebSockets for all the iOS platform. However, the Android browser, the one that's shipped with Android by default, does not include that native browser support. What I do know, though, is if you download one of the other browsers for Android, for example, I think I downloaded Firefox 14. It does support WebSocket, so you could get that support if you do get a newer version of one of the other browsers that's available for your environment. So that's the problem with WebSocket protocol right now. It's a very new type of technology, and the browsers are kind of just trying to keep up at this point with supporting it. So what we've done with ColdFusion is we've offered a fallback to the Flash player that will allow you to seamlessly provide an avenue for all of the backward compatibility problems that are around with the old browser support right now. Basically, in your code, you write the code once, implement WebSockets, and then if your user does not have that support, the native browser support, we automatically fall back to the Flash player without any code changes required by you at all. It's a seamless integration, and your user will not see any difference in the functionality. So I want to talk about ColdFusion's implementation of WebSocket, just how easy it is. We've provided you one single tag to establish a WebSocket connection. It's the CF WebSocket tag. The messages can be sent and received in any ColdFusion valid data type. So you can send a struct, a list, an array, whatever you'd like, back and forth between that socket. And then, as I said earlier, the fallback to the Flash player is still available. So WebSockets, basically the ColdFusion implementation, we've provided you one avenue, which is broadcast mode. And, well, there's a second one that I'll talk about a little bit later. But the first one I want to talk about is broadcasting messages out to your clients. And there's 3 different ways that you can do this. You can do this by having your clients invoke a message to publish throughout all of your other clients that are subscribing to a certain channel. You can have server invoked, where you're publishing messages based on a certain mechanism or scheduled task at the server level to all of the subscribed clients on the channel as well. And then the third method is the invoke and publish, where you have a user or some client that's established a connection and sends a request to the server to have some type of data processing done on the back end. And then you process that data, and as the server, after the server's done doing the message formatting and processing, it'll submit it and publish it to the rest of the group. So these are the 4 steps that we're going to do. 3 if you want to just receive messages, you'll be all set up in 3 steps. First, what we do in ColdFusion is set up the application.cfc, which is you can think of it as a global initialization file for ColdFusion. It's basically like a class with a bunch of methods that will initialize your application. In this file, we just establish WS channels, give it a name for the channel that you want to establish. And then for step 2, we would either use the CF WebSocket tag and then pass it a name of the channel that you want to connect to. And this establishes the connection with this particular channel. In here, you would specify on message, on open, and on error handlers, whatever you're choosing. You just specify the names that you'd like to use for those handlers. These are default handlers. And you have the option to set a subscribe to at this point in time, and it'll automatically set up the code to subscribe the user to that channel. If you do not want the default functionality, let's say you have some type of header information that you want to pass in, a custom header, or some arguments that you want to pass in with the subscription, then you would use the JavaScript subscribe method below here instead of using the default subscribe to in the CF WebSocket tag. So step 3, you just define the JavaScript handlers. So these are the handlers that we specified in the CF WebSocket tag. You see that there's a message handler, an open handler, and an error handler. You define your custom code that you'd like to establish within those. But at this point, after these are set, you're receiving messages already. So It's a very easy, simple way to set up WebSocket in your application. The fourth step would be to publish a message from the server. So simple, you use the publish function, the JavaScript function, pass it in the name of the channel and whatever message you'd want to send. I want to let you know what the format of the responses are when you do send a subscribe, for example. You'll get an acknowledgement back from the server that gives you this type of format here. You can see the request type is defined. There's a client ID associated with it, as well as a message response, which is okay, typically if it's okay. And then an error message would be in this format below. And you'd get a message back saying that the client has already subscribed or whatever the error message is. And these are the responses back from these particular handlers that we've already set up. So ColdFusion provides a set of JavaScript functions that are built-in functionality already. We've got subscribe, publish, invoke and publish, which is the client-initiated that I was speaking about, client-initiated, but server processed and published at the server side. Invoke, and then unsubscribe. And then on the other side, we have authenticate, get subscriptions. Now, get subscriptions will just pass you back the subscriptions that you have assigned to, let's say I'm a client A. It'll just tell me which channels I'm subscribed to. Get subscribers count, how many people are subscribed, open connection, and close connection. So there's a couple of advanced type techniques that are involved as well that we give you access to from the WebSocket perspective in ColdFusion. Basically, what we were speaking about a little bit earlier in the last slide is invoke and publish. A user can send raw data to the server, invoke a CFC. That CFC, which is basically, you can think of as a class file with several methods within it, can do some data processing on the back end. You can take queries from different databases, concatenate information, and do that processing, and then publish it back to the server. And this gives you the option of doing that via the built-in JavaScript function invoke and publish. So this would be useful for any kind of data manipulation you need to do before somebody sends out or publishes a message out to all the rest of the clients. So there's also message filtering. And this is basically just allowing you a way to filter your client's interests or whatever the user's interests are with respect to a certain channel. So let's say I'm Elishia and I'm a Laker fan. I subscribe to the basketball channel, for example, but I'm not really interested in all those other basketball teams. I just want to hear about the Lakers. I want to know if Steve Nash joined the team, for example. Then what I would do is add Elishia. I would subscribe Elishia to the basketball channel, and then I would add in a selector with some keywords to specify Lakers, or if there's something else that I'm interested in, you would specify it here in the selector. So it's basically a keyword filtering mechanism that we allow within ColdFusion. The opposite side of that is selective publishing. So you can do the complete reverse of that and only selectively publish to the users or the clients that are subscribed to a certain channel based on what you want to do at the server level. So a good example of that would be, let's say that you have a lot of users that are baseball fans and they're subscribed to a certain channel, and they're at a game tonight, there's a game, and you want to just publish to those users that are at the game to let them know that you are offering a special on $5 beers, or $5 beers, because they're usually about 10 bucks at the game, right? So you've got a coupon, $5 beers, and you want to get them based on their geolocation. You can define that and publish a message to all your users on mobile devices only that are at the game. That would be really cool to do, right? So there's also channel-specific message handlers. If you, for example, have certain channels that you want more granular control over, you don't want a message handler that will handle all of the messages for all of the channels, you want to just have specific control over certain channels and manipulate data based on that particular channel, then you can set up a message handler within that's specific to that particular channel. So let's say here we have at the subscribe level, this is what you would include at the subscribe level. You put the name, and then you would define that message handler there. And then you can put in any kind of manipulation that you want within that message handler that's specific to that channel. So basically, what we have here is the CF listener is, you can think of it as also an additional class that allow you to have some manipulation. This would be at the publish flow or the message flow. So during the message, when the message is sent, you can have further manipulation at this level that allows you to kind of granularly control different things within the message. So let's say, for example, I want to set up a rule to allow only certain people that are 18 and older to subscribe to a channel. This CFC will allow you to automatically set the parameters for your requirements first. And let me get into the callbacks that we allow for those. Basically, this next slide will show you the structure of it. So the client is at the bottom. The ColdFusion WebSocket server is in the middle. Then at the end, at the back end, we have callback functions that are automatically called for every request. And then you can specify in these authenticate, subscribe, and publish layers which requirements you have for your particular messaging application. In order to do this, you would set up the channel listener.cfc file. This is basically the way that you would set this up within your ColdFusion component. And what we've used here is a scripting language. ColdFusion also has a tag-based language, but we also offer the scripting language as well. So, for example, we have 4 of the callback methods here. You can allow subscribe. This will obviously allow whoever you want to subscribe, and you can have requirements in there. Allow publish will grant permissions for somebody to publish. Before publish, just does some business logic before the message is published. And then at the end, we have a can send message, which is, should I send a user a certain message? Are they interested in this message? And this particular, the can send message method is only called if, as we were talking about earlier, the selectors that we defined. If we do not have a selector defined for a particular user, then this method will be called. But otherwise, it will not be called. If you do have selectors already established for your users, then it will not go through this method. The way that you define the channel listener is when you set up, when you register the channel in the application.cfc that we discussed earlier. So if you look at the same example that we had earlier, we set up WS channels, we gave it a name of stock, and then we add in our own stock channel listener there. It's a very simple routine, and then at that point, the JavaScript is already built in to allow all of the callback methods to be available within the application. So these are the callback methods that we make available within ColdFusion. Allow subscribe, obviously allows the user to subscribe to a certain channel. Allow publish, do we have rights? Is the role available for the user to publish? Before publish is just you can implement data logic before a certain message would be published. Can send message, like I said, is only called when the user does not have a selector data defined. And then before send message is another, looks a little bit the same. You guys are probably wondering, what's the difference between before publish and before send message, because it looks the same. But the before send message is actually called after the before publish, but before the message is actually sent to the client. So if I have one message that goes out and is published, the before publish will be called once. And if I have 100 clients, the before send message will be called 100 times. So you have that granular control over what you're sending to each individual client. And then there's on subscribe as well. This is a basic subscribe flow. So when a user subscribes, you have channel listener defined, it will first go through allow subscribe method, and then if you are allowed, it'll send the acknowledgement and subscribe you. And in the publishing process, we have the allow publish goes through first, then before publish, and then can send messages, and then before message send at the very, very end. So the additional way to send messages, obviously, is by server publish. And that is when you have some type of message that you want to push to your clients. This is obviously a really integral part of the WebSocket protocol, because before now you had to use some other method like Comet or something that was a little bit more complex to set up. But these are useful for, obviously, news tickets, Twitter feeds, event gateway. But what we allow is a WS publish function in ColdFusion. You give it the name of the channel and the message to be published, and that's it. And then we also have additional built-in functions like get all channels, get all clients, and WS send message as well. So those are the publishing side of it. Up until now, we've talked about like a broadcast type functionality where we're just pushing messages out to clients. But there's also point-to-point, which allows you to have full point-to-point communication between a client and a server. So this is bidirectional, obviously real-time between a client and server. This would be useful, for example, on like a single-player online game or dashboard or something that required point-to-point communication between one client and one server. And basically, you would invoke a ColdFusion function again at the server level to do some conditional processing and then publish that message back to your client. Let's get into some demos now. Let's see. I'm going to just dock this on the right, and then I want to show you two browsers so that I can show you the communication that takes effect between all the users here. So my first example, I just want to show you the acknowledgement request that's coming back and forth between the server and the client, and then how that data is published between both parties that are involved. It's very real time. It's almost instantaneous. It's instantaneous. It looks like instantaneous on this example here. So let's say I want to subscribe. I'm user A on the left, and I want to subscribe to the stock channel. This is the acknowledgement that I would get back from the server that I just subscribed. And if I get subscriber count on this side, I'll see that, okay, on the right side, we're not subscribed yet. So let me subscribe, and then I'll get subscriptions. Okay, so this shows that I have 2 subscribers here. If I click get subscribers count, I should be able to get the same thing on this side. Yeah, so subscriber count is 2 on there. And then if I get my subscriptions on this side, I should be able to say that, yeah, it says I'm subscribed to the stock channel. And let's say I want to publish Adobe stock price went up to 39. So then I'll get a message on the left that says my price is 39. So this is the way it would be broadcast out to all your customers. So the second is a chart demo I have. Let's say, for example, you have a sales team that's doing a presentation and they're manipulating data while they're presenting. And if we want to change, let's say, the revenue on one of these to, let's say we had a really good year in 2011, and we change it to 1,500, then you can get, you see it automatically updated on the other side to the projected revenue that I put on the left side. This is the type of real-time data communication that you can get instantaneously and make those changes that you need to. And I do want to point out, this is the chart below. ColdFusion has charting functionality built into it that allows you to make a chart like this with one single tag. It's pretty powerful. It's very easy to use. ColdFusion has a lot of libraries, such as this one, that are pre-built into it that you can take advantage of in your application. So my next demo is, this is like a hypothetical dashboard example. So what we've done is, we have a hypothetical database. You can have, real-time database as well, obviously. But we've set up just a simple test where if we have a ColdFusion bug database, for example, and I want to find out all the ColdFusion bugs that have been submitted, and based on location and what type of, if they're an enhancement or an install or an actual issue, then we can get real-time data pinpointed with the, with the existing data that we have. And this will go through the database. And the back end, we have a server delay set up so that this will be, it actually looks like it's data coming in at real time, so that you can establish, a map of where you are or where all these things are at any given time. And then below, you can see there's a bar graph being generated on the fly with this data that's coming out. And if I wanted to do pie format, we can just switch off to pie. It should work with the pie as well. This is just an example of what you can do with a dashboard with some real-time data coming in on the back end. Okay, my last demo is, let me dock this window again. I use this a lot. This is a Windows feature. Sorry for you Mac users. I don't know if they have that in Mac, but I dock windows on the left or the right based on just the window key and the left or right button. And okay, so my last demo is the drawing. Basically, I wanted to just show what you can do in real time with a Canvas type scenario. You can use this for online gaming, obviously, real-time communication between two parties if you want to have some type of drawing mechanism. But let's say I was playing, tic-tac-toe with my son, then he would be X, always. And then I would be O's. And then he always wins because he's little. So you can do something like that with the Canvas aspect of it as well. And you can see that it's real time. I mean, there's no delay at all in this, where it's drawing. It automatically shows up on the other client's browsers. Let me start this again. Pardon? Oh, let me show you the code behind some of this. Let's see. If you're interested too, I will certainly share all of the code that I have for these demos as well, and you can just implement them immediately in your ColdFusion environment. Or we actually did a presentation yesterday on implementing ColdFusion within your Java applications. So you don't have to just have a ColdFusion environment. You can use ColdFusion as basically like a JSP tag library to be used within your application and call it from within Java, like a Java servlet, for example, using a new tab that we've created called CFC Proxy. I see one of our friends that went to our demo yesterday. So he already knows. Ask this guy over here. He already knows. Anyway, I'll definitely let go of some of this code and show you the code as well. Which one were we talking about? So in the drawing, I just want to show you, this is how we set up our channel here. Same way that I talked about. This is our application.cfc. It's called as an initialization file. And then so this is the CF WebSocket tag that was used for the canvas drawing. Okay. And so basically, we created a JavaScript function that was that allow you to do the manipulation with binary data that was sent back and forth. Okay. So I wanted to give you some resources because I know this is a lot of information to kind of collectively take in just during a session, and you might not remember. But the developer guide allows you, this gives you a lot of information based just with respect to the implementation within ColdFusion and how to implement that in your ColdFusion applications. And then we have the Developer Center where our engineers actually make articles quite often with some more advanced techniques on that. And WebSocket.org has some great information and resources as well, if you take a look at that. They also have a little feature that allows you to check your browser or just to make sure that it does have WebSocket support. So definitely go check it out there. And thanks for coming.